This is the second time I have attempted this video. The first time I did a pretty good job, but for some reason my phone wouldn't recognize the format and I couldn't edit out a lot of the stuff that just didn't need to be in there. So here I am again. I need to be doing about 500 other things right now, and I have therapy in like an hour, and I work tonight, so I need to sleep more. And my face looks like crap, and the computer, for whatever reason, um, the camera is a lot less flattering. So here I am. I just showered. Okay, so a little bit about why I need to give myself credit in recovery in the things that I've been working toward. Just a little bit of background about me and my eating disorder. I developed eating or disordered eating when I was 14. My parents are divorced, have been divorced when I was 3. Kind of the textbook unstable yet super rigid family structure. My dad was emotionally abusive, has struggled with major treatment resistant depression for most of my life. It's to the point now that they're considering electroconvulsive therapy. My mom has fibromyalgia and anxiety and migraines and was bulimic in high school. She's the one that's kind of really raised me in like a super strict household. For instance, when I was 3, I started violin. I was signed up as a fetus. I was going to be a violin player. Just really, really high goals and expectations. While both my parents are loving and I know they do care about me, they just, there was some broken family dynamic there that obviously paved the way for me developing disordered eating. I've gone back and forth between anorexia binge purge subtype, and bulimia. I don't know what my official diagnosis now. I don't even diagnosis is now. It doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me right now is that I continue to try to improve things, so I'm just not stuck in this cycle my whole life, because I wonder how much better things could be if I'm not a slave to food and the scale and what my body looks like. So I was kind of forced into recovery when I first developed an eating disorder at 14. My parents intervened pretty quickly, and I was kind of put in loose outpatient treatment off and on until I went away to school. It was never, again, really intensive. The professionals were not well trained. The psychiatrist, she just should not have taken my case. Not that I was like a special snowflake or anything, but she made some really poor choices that I won't get into that made things just insurmountably worse for me and my family. And yeah, so from about 14 until age 19, I kind of struggled on my own, lying to my parents, but yet putting on a brave face. I'm sure they knew that I was still sick at 19 because I was visibly very underweight, and you just knew I wasn't well. But they finally just stopped saying anything, whether it was because they didn't want to believe it or they wanted to just let me do my own thing. I don't know. But when I was 19, I was away at my university, and I hit a point that I was tired of being sick. I wasn't sleeping well at all. It was terrible. I probably wouldn't fall asleep until 3 in the morning, and then I would have to get up at 7 for 8 a.m. class. Just tired all the time, binging and purging all the time, anxious all the time. Couldn't fall asleep without binging and purging. Would wake up in the middle of the night to binge and purge. Was hungry all the time because I was restricting outside of that. just really lonely, really broken. I mean, I had happy times, but overall I just felt like something was missing and I was getting tired of it. So what really played into this actually was a boy that I liked at the time. He, for whatever reason, I would always kind of look toward guys as thinking that it would make me feel better. I mean, I was never promiscuous. I never had many boyfriends. But, you know, when I was chasing after the person that I liked at the time, I felt something that wasn't negative, that wasn't yuck. And, you know, there was this other guy that I liked, and I was convinced that, you know, he liked me back and this was just going to be great. And I had actually, he really reminded me of somebody that I had confided in about my eating disorder, probably the only person that I really had told. He was a person that I worked with back when I lived at home. And so for whatever reason, when I told this guy that I liked about my eating disorder, and then the next day I found out that he was just like being flirty with me because that's how he was. And I think that was, for whatever reason, it sounds really lame, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, I had all these mounting anxieties and deficiencies, and then I was just tired of like continually being rejected by guys, which were the one thing that I thought would maybe make me happy. And I just like, I broke. I just broke. And at about that time, I had kind of rekindled a friendship with a girl that I grew up with who lived farther away, and she was majoring in dietetics. And I had called her, and I remember it was a Saturday night in March of 2009. And I had called, no, 2010, I'm sorry. And I had called her and just cried and cried and cried because I knew that she had had disordered eating herself and, you know, worked through it. And she is an extremely intelligent and loving individual and had a really, I mean, for as little of education as she had on the topic, because she was like no, I think she was a junior. I felt like she was somebody that I could trust. And so she convinced me that, you know, I needed to tell somebody that was there with me so that I could make sure that I got the help that I needed. So I ended up going to outpatient therapy at my university's health center, which was, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was what I didn't want to tell my parents, so I couldn't exactly get the level of treatment that I probably needed at the time. I mean, at that point, it was a chronic eating disorder, and I was wrapped up in so many behaviors that I needed something more structured than, you know, once a week dietitian, once a week therapist, once a week psychiatrist, doctor, that sort of thing. I needed like an everyday treatment. But again, I didn't want to tell my parents, so utilizing the university's resources was the wisest decision for me at the time. And I have to say that even though it frustrates me that I did not seek the level of treatment that I needed, because eventually, I mean, obviously here I am, I relapsed because things we didn't really dig into behaviors and things that were perpetuating my eating disorder, like in a way that would have been necessary for me to have a really constructive and true recovery and maintain it, if that makes sense. Okay, so, but you know, I was proud of myself because, you know, here I was terrified of getting treatment because I had such a poor experience as a teenager being forced to go see professionals that I just really didn't like. and, was terrified. I mean, when I was a teenager, my parents would threaten to, well, my mom mostly would, threaten to admit me to the child psych ward if I wasn't compliant. I just had a lot of fear surrounding telling somebody professional that I was struggling. And I take pride in the fact that, nobody but me drugged myself to these appointments. I sought out medical help. I was never really given a meal plan or a target weight, and yet I managed to make myself eat and weight restore on my own. And for about a year, I did a pretty decent job. I really struggled with night eating for a while, just because I had trouble sleeping, and it would just kind of feed into the cycle. And so that obviously didn't create the most constructive and healthy eating methods, right into recovery. I pretty much fell into that within a couple months of starting treatment. But, for me to gain 40 pounds on my own, create my own eating habits from nothing, and, the therapist that I was seeing at the university just wasn't working well for me, so I sought out a different therapist, probably about 4 or 5 months into treatment. For me to take initiative to do that, and then have to tell my parents that, hey, I do need to see a therapist, because I sought out someone outside of the university's treatment center. So then to finally kind of admit to my parents that I was struggling, that was really big. And I was only 19, and my entire life at that point was totally wrapped up in disordered eating, and that was my identity, and I had managed to break partially free of that. That's one thing that I really just need to give myself credit for, in the fact that I did not let things slip back into getting as bad as it was when I was living at home. That's really big too. Living at home, and then before I started treatment at the university since then. So I've maintained some level of better health. I mean, obviously, I'm not the picture of health, because I still, struggle, and I'm trying treatment again in the form of seeing a therapist that specializes in eating disorders, which is the first time actually that I have ever done that. All my therapists that I've seen have kind of just had not had a lot of experience in that area. So, the fact that just recently I took the step to start therapy again and seek out someone who could help me in ways that I had never been helped before, but yet at the same time it was more of a risk, because she can, see through my bullshit a lot better, or a lot clearer than professionals in the past. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say at this point in time. I planned on having a lot more polished and edited video, but that obviously didn't happen. Maybe eventually I'll have something a little bit more structured and organized, but that's just one aspect of my recovery up until this point, the getting help at the university, trying to turn things around on my own at that point in time. God, I just really wish that other video would have uploaded, because it was so much better. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm always open to answering questions about my own journey, or if you have a friend that has disordered eating, I'm always open to trying to help you figure out how you can support them. Obviously, I'm a nurse, but I'm not a professional in that area. But I know that peer support was so important to me choosing to seek out treatment on my own. So, if I can help anybody feel like they can support their own friends in their journey toward health, that would make me feel so great. Yeah, so everybody have a great day. Happy Monday. I am going to try to clean here for about 20 minutes because our house is like disgusting. And then go to therapy and then sleep because I start work again tonight. Yay! Have a good day.